Seamus, first of all, I'm amazed and also very enthusiastic about what you said, because myself, I'm not quite familiar with that impact that you have described. And I think the most also is true for our audience here. I don't know to which extent you are familiar with that kind of very important impact. Coming to the nano degrees and to that, the fascinating thing is that it can be really tailor-made according to the needs. And what I also find fascinating is the fact we had that on the Malta conference, Vasilisa was there and Panos was there, so they know that the digital divide, because very often what we see in the digital revolution, the pace is very, very, very strong. And we don't know what will be the case in 5 years. So maybe we can calculate a bit what will be next year and so on. But as we said today and also yesterday, the requirements of the labor market change, the skills and the competences profiles change. We have to respond to it. And if we take into consideration all those, we did not have time to also focus a little bit on young people with special needs, those that have not access to the labor market or to education and training as they should have because of remote areas, far away, no glass fiber, communication, what is actually needed in order to be part of the learners community. That is really a very big option also for the years to come. We will have, during the European Vocational Skills Week in Brussels, in 2 weeks also a workshop on the digital revolution, on Industry 4.0, where also there will be quite a renowned professor from Frankfurt, Manfred Pohl, who focuses on the reform of the education system. So in 20 years, 2030, it will be completely different. People have to know how to learn, what kind of tools they have. And that is really fascinating. Thank you very much for that speech. Do you have any questions from your end? No questions doesn't mean that they are not interested in it, but it means that they are also enthusiastic, I can see, and that they will certainly learn a bit more about all this MOOC impact. So then I would pass the floor to Dr. Çetin İlin from Çukurova University, from Adana Vocational School of Higher Education in Turkey. So I'm very happy that you made it to Athens and that we learn a little bit about this language teaching component in vocational education. Let me do this.
Okay, hello. I would like to thank to the moderator first, because he is moderating us, and also for the ladies and gentlemen who are here. And also my special thanks go to Panos for his invitation for the conference. And now I'm going to give you some information about English for specific purposes. But first, I'm going to give you some information about my university, and it's in Turkey. It's in the south of Turkey, founded in 1973. It's situated in 20,000 acres of beautiful land on the eastern coast of Seyhan Lake. And the university, 10 kilometers away from the city center, is a major one in Turkey with its modern infrastructure and facilities. It's in the top 5 universities in Turkey and 500 in the world. If we think that there are 186 universities in Turkey, so this rank is very important for us. And Çukurova University occupies a foremost place among other Turkish universities with its 15 faculties, 1 state conservatory, 5 schools of higher education, 13 vocational schools of higher education, 4 institutes, 25 research and application centers, and one of them is the Center for Foreign Languages, which I work there, and a fully equipped hospital named Balcala, the largest one among the Middle East countries. So it's a very big university. Nearly 1,900 teaching staff offers education to about 50,000 students. The university considers providing highly qualified graduates to Turkey as a top priority. And in my another department, I work both departments, and the Adana Vocational School of Higher Education is the biggest vocational school of higher education of Çukurova University in Beyaz Evler campus. Serves about 6,000 students in 15 departments of both formal and distance education. And it aims to educate well-trained and talented staff in that country-needed branches. The interface between engineers and technicians to meet the need for manpower and professional staff, modern and high quality. In the organization, whose education and training periods last for 2 years after the secondary, post-secondary school, the lycée, students graduate with the title of technician and professional staff. It promotes training as formal education in the departments of computer technologies, electronics and automation, electricity and energy, audiovisual techniques, nursing and care services, construction, machine and metal technologies. So these are the departments, these are the programs in my vocational school of higher education. And also in the departments of computer technologies, accounting and tax applications, child development, and electronic communication as distance education. And I'm the responsible for e-language learning in these programs in distance education. And now the main subject is the language teaching to professionals and vocational school students. And today, knowing how to use a language in specific circumstances and purposes gives people a very strong bargaining and competitive power, especially in the labor world. A few decades ago, knowing a foreign language was a very important prerequisite for just a few, like managers or diplomats. Today, it has become of fundamental importance for all professional circles. In fact, in today's European society, languages and interculture play a fundamental role in getting to know different people and in obtaining professional and economic development. In the global marketplace that we now live in, languages have become crucial across all sectors, from law to finance, from tourism to technology, and from marketing to administration. Most businesses today need linguists, not only to permit communication across the globe, but also to understand different cultural realities and needs. And if we look at the diagram or the chart for English language teaching, you see a lot of arrows which English language leads or goes. And the first one is English as a mother tongue. And then English as a second language. And then English as a foreign language. So English as a foreign language goes general English and English for specific purposes. And again, English for specific purposes or general English goes the same aim, the English for academic purposes and English for occupational purposes. And English for academic purposes goes English for general academic purposes and English for specific academic purposes. So when we look at the map of the English language teaching, so it goes directly to the targets. And we are going to come again in the forward slides here now. And although the teaching of foreign languages in general and the teaching of foreign languages for specific purposes have a lot in common. Teaching foreign languages for specific purposes implies addressing the very specific needs of the learners involved. This means that the driving force, both in the preparation stage as well as in the development stage of such courses, should be the needs analysis of the learners who very often need that language for their job. For this reason, the starting point should always be a study of the learner's needs, objectives, and expectations for the course. This may include forming a list of preferences of what the learners would like to learn, as far as language and content is concerned, and of how they would like to learn it. For example, the needs of a learner studying a foreign language for scientific or technological purposes are totally different from those of another learner studying for medical purposes or legal purposes or financial purposes. Same goes for individuals studying a foreign language for specific trades or occupations and others still concerned with finding a job. People studying for commercial purposes need specific reading and writing skills, reading and understanding the contents of an email and replying to it, writing various letters of a different nature, a letter of complaint, of protest, of acceptance, taking minutes of an important meeting, etc. On the other hand, people studying a foreign language to work in a call center are more interested in listening and speaking skills, answering the phone, leaving a message, giving information over the phone, etc. So now, what is ESP? English for specific purpose. Some people describe ESP as simply being the teaching of English for any purpose that could be specified. Others, however, were more precise, describing it as the teaching of English used in academic studies or the teaching of English for vocational or professional purposes. Definitions of ESP in the literature began in the 1960s, and Hutchinson and Waters defined ESP as an approach rather than a product, meaning that ESP does not involve a particular kind of language, teaching material or methodology. The basic question of ESP is, why does this learner need to learn a foreign language? The purpose of learning English became the core. To determine the similarities and differences between ESP and general English, Dudley and John put forward the list of absolute and variable characteristics that reflect specific characteristics of ESP courses. Absolute characteristics, so these are not going to change anymore. ESP is defined to meet specific needs of the learners. ESP makes use of underlying methodology and activities of the discipline it serves. And ESP is centered on the language appropriate to these activities in terms of grammar, register, study skills, discourse, and genre to these activities. And variable characteristics, it changes according to the disciplines, according to the subjects which the students or the learners are going to learn. ESP may be related to or designed for specific disciplines, may use in specific teaching situations a different methodology from that of general English, and is likely to be designed for adult learners either at a tertiary level institution or in a professional work situation, and is generally designed for intermediate or advanced students. Most ESP courses assume some basic knowledge of the language systems. And ESP different from general English. One may ask, what is the difference between the ESP and general English approach? Answer this quite simply. In theory, nothing. In practice, a great deal. At the time, teachers of general English courses, while acknowledging that students had a specific purpose for studying English, would rarely conduct a needs analysis to find out what was necessary to actually achieve it. Teachers nowadays are much more aware of the importance of needs analysis, and certainly materials writers think very carefully about the goals of learners at all stages of materials production. Perhaps this demonstrates the influence that the ESP approaches has had on English teaching in general. Clearly the line between where general English courses stop and ESP courses start has become very vague indeed. Now again, the same map, and we came here, and now types of ESP divided into two main areas, again according to when they take place: English for academic purposes, English for occupational purposes. And English for academic purposes can be further subdivided into English academic for science and technology, for legal purposes, and medical purposes, and management, finance, and economics. These are the academic purposes. Okay, let me go there. And English for occupational purposes goes for vocational, medical, pre-vocational, and vocational English. And it's for study in a specific discipline or as a school subject. And again, features of ESP courses. Considering the characteristics of ESP courses, Carver states that there are three characteristics common to ESP courses: that they should be authentic materials, and purpose-related orientation, and self-direction. The authentic materials, the use of authentic learning materials modified by teachers or unmodified is common in ESP. And purpose-related orientation refers to the simulation of communicative tasks required by the target situation. The teacher can give students different tasks to simulate the conference preparation involving the preparation of papers, reading, note-taking, and writing like this. And the self-direction means that ESP is concerned with turning learners into users. And since ESP courses are of various types, depending on specific scientific field or profession, and have specific features, teachers teaching such courses need to play different roles and acquire certain knowledge here. And to conclude, using skills as a framework of ESP teachers are provided with the necessary knowledge and tools to deal with their own students' specializations. It should be remembered, ESP teachers are not specialists in the field, but in teaching English. Their subject is English for the profession, but not the profession in English. They help students who know their subject better than the teachers do develop the essential skills in understanding, using, and or presenting authentic information in their profession. And a professional ESP teacher must be able to switch from one professional field to another without being obliged to spend months on getting started. He or she simply brings the necessary tools, frameworks, and principles of course design to apply them to new material. The material, which means the content, be provided by the professors or experts in the subject. It should always be authentic and up-to-date and relevant for the student's specialization. And these are the references, and thank you for your participation and listening. Thank you very much.